say that we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Hi, everyone. Nimi Bello here, and I'm so happy to be back to talk with Sean. Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing good. So let's go ahead and get right to it. What was the motivation behind this rebrand, and how does it reflect your current professional and personal identity?
For those who know me close, I've been debating this for about a year.
Okay.
Going back and forth on, do I let Corp Dad go and just be me? And the way that Corp Dad originated was, for one, it's a play off the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I felt as if Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the book, he missed out on a key person, that corporate employee who can climb the ladder and start businesses while still working. So I wanted to be able to build off of that brand, but it really also started with my sons. I have 3 sons who I said, I want to be able to give information to when it comes to career development, starting a business, being a leader. But then I realized they're young, they could care less what I have to say right now. So if I document it, they can access it later. When I was working with a lot of my colleagues back at Comcast, I organically became a mentor. And I realized people 20 years older than me, people my age, people younger, they all needed the same information that I wanted to be able to pass on. So I knew my mission was greater. And with Corp Dad, although it's still a big part of who I am, it limited me. It put me in a box where people would literally think, so you make content for dads? And it's like, no, this is content for anyone of any gender, of any age. So I wanted to be able to branch out, and now going to use my actual official name is important for me because I went back and forth on what should the brand be. And I realized that I have to be authentic to who I am. I opened up the most I ever did in my career about my personal life, about being a high school dropout who was homeless, who 10 years later turned their life around. So I said, if I'm going to open up and be vulnerable, I need to just be me. So now I'm Sean Ilenrey, aka Sean the Speaker.
I love that. Love that. This book, You Don't Owe Happiness. Could you please elaborate more on value-centric leadership?
Yeah, this one actually hit me hard this year. It actually came up in a conversation with my team organically. And we were in a position where, like most companies, we didn't know what the economic certainty was going to be for this year. So we pulled back on a lot of things, which naturally led to employees wanting to leave the company, employees feeling disgruntled, overlooked. And we got to a place where we had probably the lowest employee satisfaction in the company. Our employees were very unhappy. And I remember telling my managers, because they got caught in a place where they were chasing the employees' happiness. I got to make them happy, but I got to make them happy. And I told them, I said, we don't control happiness. What our employees need from us is for them to feel as if we believe that they are valued and valuable. And I realize as leaders, we have to stop chasing this magical, fleeting emotion called happiness for people, because what makes me happy today may not even make me happy tomorrow. And as we know, even with raising kids, I could tell you eat your greens, eat your vegetables, and it won't make you happy, but it's the right thing for you. But if I'm doing what I need to do for you as a parent, as a leader, as a mentor, that's what matters most. So to me, value-centric leadership is about really focusing on how do I make sure I'm doing the right thing for my people and leading in the way I can, and not just chasing a happy moment for just the moment.
Your book explores empowerment, recognition, communication, growth, sponsorship, and security as keys to a positive work culture. Which of these elements do you believe is the most critical, and why?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to 2 things. When I think of growth, that's including compensation. So in the book, I explore 6 different pillars. There's 3 pillars that align to valued and 3 pillars that align to valuable. But the most important ones, if you were to weight them, are going to be that compensation and growth, and fiscal responsibility, which is essentially job security. And the reason why is that I could do everything for you as a leader to make you feel valued and valuable. But if I'm not comping you well, if you don't feel as if you actually have a career path for growth, you're not going to be happy. But on top of that, even if you have the compensation and career path for growth, if you feel as if will this company be here tomorrow? Will I secure my job? Because my leader did the right thing from a budget standpoint. My leader has made sure that we are a part of the business that needs to be here. So I think those are the 2 most important, because without the right compensation, without the right growth path, but then also without job security, no one's going to want to stick with the organization.
Absolutely. Well said. I completely approve this message. Empowerment is a central theme in your book. How can leaders effectively empower their teams, and what tangible benefits have you observed when this approach is embraced?
Going back to an example that I experienced this year, we had the lowest employee satisfaction in the company. And in the book, I explore an idea that I had. We have our employee satisfaction surveys. Read the feedback, read the comments, and absorb the feedback and do something about them. Take action. It's so important because when your employees see that their voices are heard and they see you taking action, they actually feel more engaged. And they feel as if, you know what, even though things aren't right now, I'm going to go ahead and stick it out because I believe they're working towards it. However, I went a step further. What we actually did was we launched something called the Be Direct with Empathy surveys. It was an anonymous survey that's outside of our human resources employee satisfaction survey that goes out, where each Monday I make a video that goes out to my team in response to whatever questions or feedback they put in this anonymously every single Monday. And so many great ideas have come from the team because when you have an org like mine that's over 100 people, to be able to get nuggets that you normally wouldn't get, but maybe these are water cooler conversations, for them to come to you, but you be able to address them. The misconceptions, the false rumors, the things of, hey, are all of our jobs going to go away tomorrow? Just being able to come on camera and address that is so important. So I believe that you empower your employees when you give them a platform to speak up and you actually listen. And you may not always do what they want you to do because that's not your job. But what you might do is provide the reason for why you can or can't and the how you will make it happen.
I love that. Can you share insights into how leaders can overcome common obstacles to create a thriving work environment?
Obstacles will always happen. I don't care what organization you're in. You could have had your team for 50 years. You're going to still deal with some new obstacles, especially macroeconomic obstacles. And what I've learned is that as a leader, you have to lean in on your team. You can't do it all on your own. And also, the benefit is that we tend to think, hey, I don't want to hand this off to my team because they're going to feel like I'm overworking them and not really want to be a part of it. But the reality of it is when you hand off trust to your team, you're empowering them. So now they feel as if, you know what, I own this. I'm a part of this process. So you want to actually identify, here's something I can hand off to this person because they're strong in this area. Not somewhere they need to grow in. You want to make sure it's somewhere they're already strong and they can maximize their skills and gifts because now they're going to be bought into it with you. So now you're walking into these obstacles, not saying, here's how I'm going to solve it as a leader, but we're saying, here's how we're going to collectively solve it. And in the end, as the leader, you may be the decision maker, but the fact that you gave them all a voice and a vote is powerful.
I love that, maximizing their gifts. Can you provide examples from your own experiences or case studies of organizations that have successfully undergone this cultural shift?
Yeah, I used to work at a company where we were an outsourcer and our biggest client was a major retailer that sells women's handbags and more. I won't mention the name. And we were actually their only contact center. So they didn't have an internal center. We were them. We were the brand. And my COO came to me one day and said, hey, I need for you to move over and save this department. It's a contract that we had for about 2 years, and they were going to pull the plug. We hadn't hit their sales targets. We hadn't hit their customer experience targets. We haven't even hit their service level targets. We were in a place where the client said, why should I even do business with you? And when I got over there, the reality was that the team felt as if the leadership team didn't care about them. They never had performance reviews. They never really knew where they stood. The leadership team was leading with fear. But on top of that, they also just felt as if the company didn't care about them. We had pay cuts the year prior. And on top of that, our founder of the company went on a 3-month boat trip.
Oh, wow.
So they're thinking this guy took our money and went on a yacht trip while we have to sit here and work, even if that wasn't the case. So I had to come in and rebuild that trust. And the key thing for me was to pull everyone into town halls. And I had myself and my leaders sit in the middle and I let everyone sit around us. And I said, you can curse, you can say whatever you want to say, be as open and transparent as possible, but we're here to address what's going on. And we let it all out. It was cathartic, being able to just have that moment of them sharing their pain points. But then I said, at the end of this, we have to, as a group, agree to how we're going to move forward and improve things. And we were able to improve our turnover rate. We cut it in half. Our attendance was up. We hit customer experience targets for the first time. We blew out sales targets because we had a team that was bought into it. But what it really just came down to was communication. It came down to putting yourself in a position where you say, I'm going to actually be humble. I'm going to put my head down and say, I'm not your boss. I'm your leader. And as your leader, I work for you. So how can I make it better for you?
How do you propose leaders balancing promoting well-being without shouldering the unrealistic burden of ensuring everyone's happiness?
Well-being to me is one of the most important things, not just physical well-being, but mental well-being. A lot of times we'll find ourselves in a place where even if things are going well, the workload can pile up on you sometimes. Even the work can get monotonous, and you feel like, okay, you know what? I need something else new in my life, and now it's starting to tax you. So I think as leaders, we have to be aware. Self-awareness is important, but also awareness of how your team's emotional state is. We've gotten to a place in business that emotional intelligence is just as valuable, if not more invaluable, as just your, typical intelligence. How can you actually read the room and see, hey, this person needs some help? Understanding when KPIs may no longer matter. So you may have productivity goals, but you know what? Let's put a pause on that. Let's focus more on your mindset right now. And how can I meet you halfway to bridge that gap? Now, even though what I'm doing is not to make you feel happy, what I'm doing is to put you in position where you actually feel as if you're being poured into, you have the opportunity to improve your state.
For leaders who resonate with your value-centric leadership philosophy, what practical steps can they take to implement these principles within their teams or organizations?
Yeah, one thing that I do offer is an assessment. I believe that it's so important for you as a leader to question and answer these questions and say, okay, do I have a high value, mid value, or low value organization? And then allow your team to then go in and do the exact same assessment, but from their perspective. Because I think a lot of times we can be a little bit disconnected from the group and understanding how is the team actually feeling. So I think the first step is always first identify where you are, where each of you are. And then if you have a gap, you identify, okay, where are our gaps and how do we close that gap? But you have to be willing to get the feedback. You have to be willing to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, maybe things are going well in my org, but it's because we're just chasing happiness. We're just out here giving them everything they want, but technically I put us in a poor fiscal situation because now finance is looking at us and saying, hey, do you really need this many people in your department? Hey, your team's not being as productive as possible. We're not getting the output we expect. And the last thing as a leader you ever want is to have to lay people off. I always say it's harder to lay off than it is to terminate someone because with a termination, they see it coming. But with a layoff, you know that either the business, the economy, or you've done something as a leader that didn't set your team up for success where they could avoid that. So I believe you have to put yourself in position to be aware of what's going on. Let them give you that feedback, but also question your department's value yourself.
Wow. Well said. And thank you so much for an amazing conversation. And let everybody know where they can find out about your book and also how they can plug in with you on social media and everything.
Yes. So you can find the book. It's on Amazon. It's coming in February. So be ready to check it out. You can go ahead and purchase it. Or you could actually go to my website, seanilenrey.com/books or seanthespeaker.com/books. I'm also available on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active there as Sean Ilenrey. And you can find me on every other social media platform as Sean the Speaker. It's spelled SEAN and then the Speaker. But check me out. I'm always willing to connect and definitely connect with me and send me a message. I want to get to know your story, your background, and also how I can serve and help you out as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.